Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. In 2011, Andy Hnilo was walking across a busy street when he was suddenly struck by one car, and then another, and then another. And he woke up a few hours later with a collapsed lung, 7 broken ribs, and a severe compound fracture of his jaw, which was broken in 5 different places. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term compound fracture, that basically means that your broken bones have pierced the skin and are now sticking out of your body into the air. And that's particularly relevant to Andy's story because he made his living as a model. His face and his body were his career. So he had a choice to make. One way or another, the circumstances would define the rest of his life, either as a victim or as a fighter. Well, Andy chose to fight and would turn his tragedy into his opportunity as he spent months and years formulating skincare products in his kitchen in order to reduce the scarring his accident had left behind. And you will see for yourself when you see his photos on the blog post that it worked. And he has, as a result, created one of the fastest growing skincare line products in the world, Alitura. So this is Andy Hnilo. This is his story. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Dillard here. And today we are going to hear from an entrepreneur with an absolutely fantastic story, Mr. Andy Hnilo. Andy, welcome to Self-Made Man.
Hey, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So you've got a heck of a story. It's getting to be actually more common as as this podcast has grown and we've recorded more and more episodes. There are many entrepreneurs out there with stories that start with a bit of tragedy. I think you're probably the 6th or 7th guest where a hospital bed has been involved. So welcome to the show, and I think that would probably be the perfect place to start in how your adventure began as an entrepreneur.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. So March 20th, 2011, I was hit by a westbound heading vehicle. An SUV hit me into the eastbound lane right here on Melrose in Los Angeles, California. And was hit by another SUV in that eastbound lane and lost consciousness. And next thing I know, I'm in an ICU bed in Cedars-Sinai Hospital right on Beverly Boulevard. And I just had no recollection of what happened, but I quickly found out as I'm looking down, I'm seeing my chin had punctured the bottom of my mouth. So I'm basically looking at I could see my chin, and the left side of my face was just in particles. And I was on morphine, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I had 2 friends of mine in the room with me quickly told me not to speak because they didn't want any of those particles getting dislodged, because ultimately they were going to hopefully get pieced back together. But that's where it all started. I left the hospital 6 days later, had the surgery that following Tuesday because the resident maxillofacial surgeon from Cedars-Sinai, it was the worst compound fracture he'd ever seen. So we had to hire a private surgeon that luckily my mom knew from Stanford Hospital. So that Tuesday got the surgery, recovered, and went home. And my family stayed with me in my little apartment for a few days, and but everybody had to get back to work. And so from that point on, I just took it as a challenge because luckily I broke 7 ribs and I collapsed my lung. My jaw was wired shut and I was banged up, but I didn't have any knee or ankle or arm, I could still, my limbs were fine, believe it or not. So I was extremely banged up, and for a few days I just recovered and I've always been into health, wellness, nutrition, and I couldn't choose. So I just really started coming up with I met with, this is over several weeks, but I would meet with Chinese herbalists, nutritionists, and just had different discussions on how I was going to get the best nutrition inside my body, but also I just started, I was unrecognizable. I had a lot of scar tissue that was lodged in the left side of my face, and I was in a lot of pain. But on top of that, I had a lot of swelling and was in a lot of pain. And and my face was covered in abrasions and scarring. So I'd always been into ingredients, and I didn't want to use the scar creams and these scar reversal serums that were, given to me by surgeons to reverse my scarring. I just didn't want to use anything that were loaded with corticosteroids or highly, concentrated with toxic chemicals. And so I just started coming up with my own. Now, granted, this came up, this took quite a bit of time, but I didn't have anything but time. So I began ordering some of my favorite extracts, my favorite butters, and just through research, just different essential oils, and came up with different combinations. But before that, aside from that, I was also using a bentonite mask, which had been used. I don't know if you're familiar with calcium bentonite clay.
No,
It's a mineral-rich clay that is used in a lot of skincare masks, treatments, and med spas, and a lot of estheticians use it in their protocols for skincare. But I just would use, so that was my first ingredient that I was using on top of Rasul clay, kaolin clay, pyrophyllite clay, and then I started adding different superfood extracts. And believe me, a lot of things didn't work, but the things that did work, it was undeniable results immediately. And that was my little routine on top of just going in my back room and just getting on a little inversion table to kind of get my discs in my back, hopefully a little lubricated to release some of that congestion in my spine. And I just had this routine every morning that kind of just made me feel better about my, doing everything possible to accelerate my recovery and speed up my, the healing of just my overall well-being, my physical state, my abrasions, scarring, everything. So
what were you doing work-wise before?
I was in the entertainment industry. I was a working model and actor. Before that, I was an athlete my entire life. I moved down to LA
So that's some good context, because it's important for you to get your face back. Right. That's how you were making your living. And I was trying to put the two together there, and that makes a lot of sense now. So yeah, very interesting. So you had really no previous experience formulating any kind of skincare products or anything like that, but you've gone through this traumatic accident. It's putting your livelihood at risk. You've got to do anything and everything you can to make sure that you recover fully, or the consequences could be pretty dire. So that's a really cool story. When did you decide to turn this into a business?
Well, that was the thing that kind of, right after the accident, I was told immediately, are you going to sue? Are you going to get anything out of this? Because you're obviously never going to work again. And we didn't go that route. I just kind of took it as a challenge to, get back and work again, back in the industry. But little did I know, I'd never had an intention to turn this into a business. I actually just wanted to look and feel like I did before the accident. And so that was my goal. But the same people who saw me in the hospital were, pretty blown away shortly after the accident when they saw me face to face, because the abrasions were completely healed and the scarring had gone down significantly, as did the swelling. But my teeth were nuts, so my jaw was wired shut. So they quickly, if I were to start talking, you would know something had happened. But that was encouraging, though, that I had the little concoctions that I was making out of my back room were effective. And that's the thing is, before the accident, the things that I could control, like my appearance, what I put into my body, my workouts, led to success in the entertainment industry. Just developing that discipline and that routine and that work ethic that I had that usually leads to success, or at least feeling good about knowing that you put everything into something, was something I had before the accident. I don't think that leaves. So I stayed on top of that every single day. Every hour had a purpose to what I was going to do to help accelerate my recovery. And so that just going around to the people that saw me in the hospital room were like, well, what are you doing? And I didn't have a name. I definitely didn't have a website, and I definitely didn't have an intention to ever start selling what is now the Alitura clay mask. And what after that is the night cream and the moisturizer. These are all things that I just made out of my kitchen in my back room. So, but I would drive around town in my little backpack with a handshaken container my little Alatura clay mask and some essential oils and some apple cider vinegar. I would mix it up for a friend, and a friend led to telling her friends and his friends, and just driving around town. All I wanted was just some type of feedback, and just because it made me feel good. It was a creative outlet that I never thought I had. I mean, little did I know that was my beta testing for my product, and taking a little of the kelp powder out, easing up on the ascorbic acid because it was a little intense, just fine tuning that recipe of 9 ingredients. It was just fun for me. It was in doing that, it felt good because I was seeing results. I was feeling good about creating something from scratch out of my apartment, but at the same time, I was my recovery was speeding up because of that as well. And it was just a really good way to get back into the swing of things, so to speak. And that little momentum of, a little snowflake of momentum led into just an avalanche of just, all right, well, wait a minute, maybe I have something here. And just one thing led to another.
Yeah. And that was actually my next question is, when did this, occur to you that this could be a full-time business? And when did you start to pursue, professional manufacturing right outside of your kitchen, essentially? And how did you go about finding those resources?
Right. So what I would do is on Facebook is I would take little pictures of me in my back room and just with all the ingredients, like, hey, going to work and kind of shaking it up. And people would ask, what is that? And finally, about a year and a half, 2 years later, I came up with a little name, Golden Glow, right? And it just sounded good because it gives you this nice, flush, radiant glow after using the mask. But a friend of mine who owns a med spa in San Diego, that was really nice of her because she had no idea. She didn't try it. Well, she tried it before, trying it on her customers, but she took it on she tried it out a few of her customers down at her med spa, and they loved it. And so she brought it on as a treatment, still no name. They didn't want to use Golden Glow. They called it, I think, a mineral-rich, nutrient-dense clay facial mask. And they started charging for it. And I can't tell you, Mike, like that was my first victory for sure right there, is just having something that I created in a professional med spa. So from that point on, I knew I had something. But manufacturing, how do you go about that, right? And so at that time, and I noticed you had Dave Asprey on your podcast in the past. Mm-hmm. And so, believe it or not, I wanted to work for Bulletproof. So I had been using his products, and I troubleshooted his email address with a before picture of me in the ICU, and then an after picture, which was me doing something for like Men's Health magazine. And I didn't know his email address, but I knew the info at Bulletproof Exec. That's what it was back then. But D.Asprey, Dave.Asprey, David Asprey, Asprey.David, like 10 different combinations, right? And I copy pasted the intro email with the before and after picture, and a lot of them bounced back, but one of them went through. He got right back to me, brought me on board as an ambassador for Bulletproof. And a couple months down the road from that, they invited me on their podcast, Bulletproof Radio, to talk about my story. And towards the end of the podcast, we had just talked about my accident and how I'd used nutrition and Ayurvedic herbs and Chinese herbs, things like that, to really speed up my recovery and things that got me back on my feet quicker than I expected. But towards the end, it was a video podcast, so he could tell. He's like, "You said you had scarring. Like, where are they? What did you do?" And he's like, "I'm sure my audience would benefit from that." And I told him just what I did, the product that I created, just 9 nutrient dense ingredients, freshwater pearl powder, colostrum, kelp powder, vitamin C, American ginseng, and then 4 different clays. And I combined that with apple cider vinegar, my favorite essential oils, and I would stay extremely diligent with that routine every day to not only just bring circulation to the surface of the skin, but remove a lot of that swelling and the impurities and heavy metals from just a fog that I was in from everything that I had gone through. And he got such a response from that podcast. I didn't have a website or anything. I just told people to contact me directly, but he had him and Jillian Michaels had the #1 health and fitness related podcast on iTunes at the time. So, I think at the time it was like 16 million downloads, and I think now it's like 60 or 70 million. But I got such response from that, and so did he. He came down, I think a week later, we met, sat down, and realized we had something here. That was what leads to the answer to your question of, I didn't have the money to afford reaching in or to manufacturing reaching out to manufacturing, but he helped me with that. He became a partner of mine in Alitura, and he brought my product onto his website as his first bulletproof approved skincare product. So we still kept it as mine, and he really helped me. I mean, that's where it all started, Mike, is his trusted customer database, which I was one of. Just believed in the story, believed in the product, and the reviews started coming in, and people really liked the product. But I mean, I'm telling you, I would go around because at the time, orders started flowing in before I even had any proper packaging, before I had any proper labeling. I barely had a website. I just got one on Shopify. I had a high school buddy who in his downtime would help me out. But luckily, Shopify had a pretty simple template where you would just have we only had one product at the time, and just add to cart, order, and then I would have to go to work and I bought a mud mixer from Home Depot. I started doing it all myself. And for about the first month or two there, that's all I could do because I had orders to fulfill and I didn't want to say I couldn't do it. And also you're just living in adrenaline, right? And you're living in, all I wanted to do was have something and do something, productive and have like a job. I never really thought I'd be involved with business, but here we are learning from the back way out, selling before you even knew how to manufacture properly. And that's how it all started. But once we started, yeah.
That's awesome. I love the serendipity of it, right? And just the proactive nature that you would contact, someone like Dave and just go for it. And I'm pretty sure the email that you sent him, was filled with some praise for how his products benefited you and what you've gotten out of his work and whatever it may be. And that you weren't really pitching anything, most likely. Fill me in if I'm wrong here, but that's typically how you get a response is reaching out to somebody and saying thank you on how they've impacted your life and not saying, hey, here's how you can help me. But what was that email like from a details perspective?
Oh, man, you hit the nail on the head. It was just when you start to see results from getting back to where you wanted to be, it was just pure gratitude on my part. And I wanted to find a way to somehow work with Bulletproof because I had started drinking coffee for the first time, his Bulletproof coffee. And then I started, the collagen protein, I really feel like started healing my skin from the inside out, building my body back to where I wanted it to be. And so I was extremely grateful for that. And I just wanted to tell him that. And it never was about, I don't even think I know for a fact I didn't mention it ever up until that point that I had a product. And just towards the end, and that's exactly what it is, because the last, I think 7 minutes of the podcast that him and I did, the first one was just, he even said that he's like, that's really cool. You didn't even mention that to me that you had a product. Do you have a website or anything? We're happy to put the link to it. And I think I said it was under construction, but it definitely wasn't. And it's just from that point on, I was coming back from a modeling gig for Oakley in Orlando. And I got this GoGo in-flight, the wireless on my laptop. And every time I refreshed my Yahoo browser after the podcast aired, it was a new set of emails from people all around the world, just saying really nice things and wondering where they could buy the product. And that's truly how it started.
That's awesome. What advice would you give to those who are listening who might be thinking about developing a similar type of product in the category, right? Like a skincare product for the very first time. Maybe they've got a story that's similar to yours, or maybe it's more along the nutrition supplement type of realm. But at the end of the day, it's a consumer products based business. And what are the biggest, stumbling blocks or roadblocks or challenges that you've had to overcome?
Right. So my number one piece of advice would be I never knew my raw goods cost. So I just focused on because this was all built out of necessity. I just wanted to get the best for myself to heal my scarring and just to get back on my feet quickest. So cost never came into play for me. I just wanted the best 6-hour first milking colostrum, grass-fed, the best ascorbic acid. I mean, I sourced each ingredient. I must have went through 4 or 5 different sources to get what I felt was the best. And then that made just the dream team synergy of what it is now. But so that right there, when I came coming up with pricing, seriously, $35 plus free shipping just sounded good. But I quickly found out after calculating costs I was losing money through that. And so clearly you want to come up with your costs, your raw goods costs before you do all that packaging, labeling, labor, everything before you come up with your pricing. I know that may seem obvious to many people out there, but I just never even had an intention to do this. So that would be number one. Number two, this is a big one. All these templates, whether it's Shopify, Squarespace, WooCommerce, WordPress, Wix, they all have this shipping easy is a really good way to streamline the whole mailing process. So if you have a physical product, you're going to have to print out shipping labels, slap them on the packaging, and then you just have to drop them off at the post office. Mike, I was handwriting to and from labels. Now, say if we had a big sale, that would take all day for me, and it was just me because I had to get the orders out that day, and or else I just felt like I was cheating the customer. Now, every now and then, it would lead into 2 days, which is, when you think about it, it's fine. But, it's just something I had to do. So it was just a sense of urgency to get orders out, get back to customers immediately, perfecting the whole customer experience. But that would be my second biggest piece of advice would be to get
real quick before you dive in that the resource that you mentioned around shipping was which again?
Shipping Easy.
Okay, and so that's like a drop shipping company?
Well, so yeah, you can just print out shipping labels. You get a scale, and you weigh the different products. Now, say if I ship out my mask, my moisturizer, or a combination, the weight's going to be different. So it's just weighing out each package, coming up with shipping. You slap on the label, and then you just drop them off at the post office. Now, for 2 years, that process was a little too complicated for me. We had a couple unreliable companies, but Shipping Easy is one that we finally went with. But 2 years later, I'm telling you, the hours that I spent waiting in line at the post office and the hours that I spent writing out the to and from packing slips is just, and then also on top of that, they get cheaper shipping rates than I do just, directly out of the post office. And I was wasting so much time and wasting a lot of money. So believe me, anybody out there, that is a big one. You can't put a price for that.
I did the same thing. Yeah. So when I first started selling my first ebook in like 2007, I'd get them printed at a local print shop, these spiral bound books, and a couple hundred at a time. And I'd have these huge boxes full of these books in my living room. And every single morning I'd wake up and I'd get 20, 30, 40 orders that I'd then have to hand write out the to and from, shipping address in a flat rate priority envelope, stick in the book, tape it closed, and do that for, again, 20, 30, 40 books at a time. It would take me 3 or 4 hours to do, put them in the white tubs, put them in my truck, take them to the post office, wait in line for 20 minutes. And I did that every single day for like a year. So
that's, but there's something, maybe you feel the same way. I just loved the 9 to 5 aspect of having something, working for myself, building something from scratch, and having an order, having a customer. My dad works for Fujitsu. He's like, he said a really nice thing. He's like, you've acquired a customer, which is the hardest thing to do in business. He's like, just, enjoy that. And I loved it. And granted, there was something about, I did hire a couple of people throughout early on that just kind of would, they would screw some things up on customs paperwork, and it would get shipped back to me. Some things wouldn't get packed properly, like my glass bottles, they would get broken, and that never happened with me. And so that's why I love doing it. And so I just every single day outside of Sunday, when the post office was closed, I would just do it. And it was just something I look forward to doing. And I just love doing it. And I don't really know, I would change that, but those first couple of years, just full of adrenaline. And it was just, as you have you go from 1 product to 2 to 3. Now we have 9 SKUs with 3 more on the way. So now it's like, okay, I definitely need some help. And we have a full staff now, and things are different. But it's just, any advice to anybody out there would be to just, because that's not the best way to advance our business, right? So
yeah, it's the best problem in the world you could possibly have. That you're spending your time packing up products that people have just purchased from you. Yeah, so totally agreed until you get to a point where it's like, okay, this is something that is not a good use of my time, and it needs to be focused on the business. So That's awesome that y'all are growing. From a sales and marketing perspective, what's been really effective for y'all when it comes to selling a product and actually doing so at a profit?
Okay, so see, from sales and marketing, we didn't spend any money on marketing in the first 2 years. It was all podcasts. We finally hired a publicist in last year, which it just didn't work out. And I remember Mark Cuban, I love the show Shark Tank, and he said one of the best things is just to be your own biggest publicist. And when it comes from you and every single email, just putting your heart out there, and not a copy paste, really custom tailoring it, starting from the top, working your way down to people that you admire and that you feel like that your story would resonate with them. And just podcasts are how we built everything. Shopify had me on as a featured story of one of, a success story on, as a business storefront on their template. So that was another big one. Ask Men, found out about it, and they did a little story about us. And, the big thing though is Yotpo, YOTPO, is a review service where 16 days after purchase, they follow up with the customer asking for their feedback. And I just, the reviews started flowing in, and people, and word of mouth, to me is been the most effective form of marketing, as well as podcasts. So that really is what we did to start spreading the word. Now, with from a profitable standpoint, the margins in skincare are great. We go, I create. We don't have the huge corporate overhead, and so I'm able to make my dream product every single time. Now, this is just what I do. It cuts our margins a little bit, and it maybe down the road when we really, really expand and scale up to a point where I really envision we may have to think about certain things, but I don't know if I want to change that. It's just, I heard Jeff Bezos say this a long time ago on 60 Minutes. I was watching with my parents in Palo Alto a few years ago before any of this. And he was just like, I will take a hit on margins just to gain that trust of a customer to where they're the only online marketplace that anybody will. And I really, to this day, I can't even name, they're my go-to for pretty much anything, Amazon, right? And so I really want to be that skincare line where you get that customer trust where we don't add any fillers, any thickeners, any stabilizing agents, any artificial colors, fragrances, anything. It's just everything is meticulously sourced and just above and beyond with our ingredient decks and the true passion behind it. I do all my research and development myself based on my own, what I would want in my skincare products. And luckily there's a space for that on shelves where people, have big corporate overheads where they need to, and I understand that, where they need to watch certain things, but I just, I'd rather just gain that customer trust and have everybody fall in love with my products, where it may cut a little bit into my margins, but we're still profitable, we're cash positive, and we're moving. But we're not cutting any corners. I'm making my dream product every single time,
Yeah, no, agreed. And that's the trick, right? If you get a customer to try your product and it's the best quality that they can get, guess what? They're going to come back and buy from you again and tell their friends about you. And that's where the profit comes in. That's where the stability comes in and the longevity of the company and, the ultimate goal there. So I think you're absolutely going about it right.
Thank you. I heard Jeff Hoffman mention that. And that was one thing that really, I actually cut a little excerpt out of your podcast with him, and he would just say, chase excellence. Yeah. Don't chase exit strategies. And, this is my baby. I just want to perfect and control what I can control, the customer experience, my ingredient decks, my products that I really believe are just, next level. And that's what I can control. I want to just create and chase that excellence in every single thing that I can do, the customer experience and the products. And just let everything else take care of itself. Now, I know it's not that simple. And as we scale, we're in a fulfillment center now, and some things happen, some things get screwed up that are out of our hands. But the best thing that we can do is patch it up with that customer, reach out to them immediately and go, hey, look, that's our fault, and just take care of that and hold on to that customer, because they're the only reason that you're here, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what's your vision, the next 3 years? What do you see this turning into? What do you want it to turn into?
So I had the chance to sit down with a friend of mine, Jeff Sinelli from Which. He's the CEO of Which. It's I don't know if you heard of it. They're like a sandwich chain. They're now in
I think they started in Austin,
Dallas, I believe.
Okay, Texas, yeah,
Texas. So, but he's, as many people are starting to ask me that, and he's like, look, just keep growing as you are organically, and just keep doing what you're doing. Now there's that, and then there's also, I want to expand. I want to start reaching out to distributors, because all of this has happened without we're in 75 countries now, just strictly through word of mouth and not going through reputable distributors and that route. Now, do I want to do that? Absolutely. I want to stand alone. I have big dreams. I have that with companies that I admire. I used to buy Eminence, Lemaire, but I really believe our product. The best emails I get are the people that have used their products in the past and are now using mine. It's something that we have something here. And so I believe it was one of your podcasts or someone else, where it's just, I want to have a team around me that can help me expand and scale. That's, my strength is the research and development and the true heart and passion and soul behind the brand. Little things that come to my mind for products in the future. But as far as expansion, it's something that I'm learning on the go. And I really, we just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary last Tuesday. So that was, we're 3 years into it, and I want to take it to the next level. And we're starting to look into things where Facebook ads, Instagram ads, we're testing, and we're trying to figure out affiliate marketing. We're trying to figure out what works best, because we want to reach out and get into the areas which work for other brands. But it's a tough thing to say. I know where I want to be, and we're in retail. We're starting to expand and seeing that space as well. But online is really where it's at for us, and from a physical product realm, and something where you can get on a subscription base. And we have customers that would rather just get on that subscription base and just constantly, skincare is one of those things where you're not, hopefully, if you fall in love with the product, you're ordering every 30 to 45 days, and that'd be ideal. But it's a constant testing process right now of getting the brand out in as many avenues as we can, and reaching out and finding, you find out how big this world is. And if you can just show people just really what separates your brand from others, and just, point out the details and the attention to detail that you put into your products, and just expanding, and hopefully that responds well to a customer out there, and then that the word starts to spread, hopefully like wildfire. But this is we're learning on the go. And so to answer your question, I definitely, there are goals and there are visions that I have for the brand, and we're right in the testing space right now of seeing what works. But it's just, we're seeing that certain landing pages aren't working as well as other ones, and certain ads aren't working well as other ones. And so it's a little frustrating, but I don't know if that answers your question, but we're like right in the middle of trying all these new things that we're just starting to get into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that will never end. So you'll have the same answer 5 years from now. Yeah. So, my biggest priority, what I think about these days, and it's at the top of my list, is how do I make the buying process as simple as possible? And not necessarily the first purchase, but the second, the third, and the fourth. And so, we're working on changing our web technology, our platform, our payment technology here between now and the end of the year, to where everything that we do is a one-click buy. Because that's what Amazon is, and that's what made Amazon, is the fact that you can just log in anytime and click, one-click purchase with free shipping. That's why they won. And so how can you add that to your experience as well, where once somebody becomes a customer, their login credentials, whatever it may be, saves their info. If they want to order an additional product, it's a one-click purchase from that point forward. And I think there's just so much hidden value and gold there from an opportunity perspective that that's more and more important. And finally, the technology exists these days for small, businesses like ours to implement. In the past, it was a huge endeavor. You'd have to be, super compliant when it comes to credit card data storage and things like that. And now there are merchant account companies that will do that for you, and you don't have to worry about that at all. For you, I'm thinking like, gosh, there's so many opportunities here to grow and to get exposure and attention, whether it's a contest, right, where people use your product for 30, 60 days, whatever it may be. They've got their before and after photos. And just like all of our friends in the health and fitness industries, have each year with their New Year's resolution diet contests or fitness contests, you can absolutely do the same thing here. Getting and testing referral programs with platforms like Ambassador or some of the others out there that will, help accelerate the referrals that you're already getting, but how can you kind of supercharge that, right? Setting up an app maybe with health tips, skincare tips every single day under a generic name, which is, what Drew Canoli did when he set up the Facebook fan page Juicing Vegetables, right? It wasn't right. Organifi, it wasn't Drew Canoli, it was Juicing Vegetables, and people would go there to get tips on that. And it's got 2-3 million fans now or something ridiculous like that. And he's leveraged that into the sale of his products. So
was that before he had a brand?
Yeah.
So would you, so say with Alitura, would you do that separate of Alitura, which I'm happy to do? I do weird stuff all day long that is just, I could separate that and record that. And when I say weird stuff, just quirky stuff, like I just took off a mask and I'm working on my serum right now, and I'm little things, I could separate that in a 45-second video and just start that as skincare tips with Andy or something, right?
I don't think you could go wrong either way. The biggest question I have is that I think Drew got into that so early that he was actually, and you can ask him that, or I'll ask him that next time I talk to him on the details around how he acquired that page and that name, right? Did he get in so early that he would just manage to do it, or did he buy it? But I do know that he's had that page forever, and so he was very much on the early curve of that. For skincare tips today, good luck, right? I think you're better off sticking with Alitura because that's a unique name that you already have rather than skincare tips. With that being said, though, that's absolutely what you would want to do on that page, and with or without promoting your products, great content, rich, useful videos. And if people get value from that and they don't feel like they're being sold, you're building trust, you're building rapport, you become a desired part of their life and their experience. And then guess what? They end up buying from you down the road. So there's just so many things that you can do. It's fantastic.
That's something that I forgot to address. So we definitely, with content, I want to keep it, whether it's from diet, nutrition, skincare, we try to keep it nice and dynamic, new content, fresh content, almost daily, whether it's a blog post, whether it's video logs we're just building a YouTube channel as we speak. We're seeing how, beneficial working with influencers can be, such as Dave Asprey. I mean, just taking on and partnering with Alitura, he has such a reach. It's amazing. But working with so many other people, Ben Greenfield, you name it, with people that really believe in the product and the true story of how it was started, how the brand was started, and just a lot of transparent content and just being there, engaging with people from me with my voice, just coming from me daily and just being there to answer questions. I think that's a way to separate yourself from other bigger brands, and we'll see where it leads to. But yeah, the content is everything, and it's so hard for me at conferences. I have to have someone next to me. I can explain products and how I went about creating them, the benefits. But as far as closing the sale, I got to have someone next to me because it gets a little awkward. And I'm glad it's awkward because I just rather just explain the heart and soul behind what's in it, and rather than I don't want ever I wouldn't it would just break my heart if someone thought that I was just trying to make a buck only. I mean, I really just want to help because I'm grateful to be here. Sure,
and another opportunity that's not so obvious but that's massive for you is to take the same approach that Josh Bozzoni did with BioTrust. Right, so he has a nutrition supplement line. They're doing $100 million plus a year in revenue, and you never see them advertising anywhere. And the reason is they don't have to. Josh years ago spent a lot of time and energy creating an affiliate program for all of the other influencers in the health and fitness industry, and set up an affiliate program with, I think, 40 or 50%. I don't know the exact number, but the point is it's a lifetime commission on their products. And so, you could do this with someone like Dave Asprey, where someone buys a bulletproof product, and as an upsell, Dave can get on there and pitch, Alitura from a skincare line, and here's why we endorse it, and we'd love to, give you a chance to try it at a discount or whatever it may be. But you can go out to all of the people in the health and fitness lines who have nutrition products, and obviously their customers are going to be interested in a skincare product that's aligned with the same kind of quality and values. And you can essentially just partner with them to be an upsell, which generates essentially free revenue for them. It's a lifetime purchase, so there's a residual component to it. And for you, it's free customers every single day at a fixed cost, right? You know what the commission's going to be, and you can go out and do that, starting tomorrow. But that's exactly how they built a $100 million nutrition company without actually advertising.
Wow.
Yeah. So lots of opportunities, lots of different ways you can go about it. I think your product would be perfect for that because it is getting such good reviews and people like it so much that other influencers would feel good about promoting it, and it would be a win-win for everybody. So very cool. Very cool. Any other final pieces of advice or words of wisdom for folks?
Well, first off, I really appreciate being on your show. It's just, I listened to it, and I have a lot of friends that reached out to me because I did a post letting my following know that I'd be on it. And so it's just, it's a lot of fun for me just going back, and it kind of just rehashes how this all started. It's pretty therapeutic as well. But as far as, it's just, if you have, it's up to the audience out there, just pay attention to the things that excite you. I mean, I would make this mask every morning just wondering what I was going to do with my life, not even knowing. I was staring right at my future. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, it continues to build and grow, but just pay attention to the things that excite you and that you love doing, because you never know when it's going to end up, making money for you. I mean, I'm extremely passionate about skincare because I know what it feels like to be down and out and to have, to be uncomfortable with what you see in the mirror. And so luckily it's just such a fulfilling industry for me, but also it's, it can, be pretty profitable as well. So you never know what's going to lead to, hopefully a business down the road. And I have to echo what Jeff Hoffman said. It's just, just perfecting and control, what the things that you can control. I truly believe in just, my Pro Cleanser that I just created, I just created my, my dream product with a complete disregard to cost. I didn't find out the cost until about 2 weeks before we pulled the trigger on, going forward with manufacturing it. And so it's just compiling ingredient decks and just perfecting just the whole customer experience. It's just, you're going to have people that are going to come back and they're going to appreciate that. And just being transparent, being there for them, and just getting back in a timely manner and just engaging with your following. It's just, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And so, just pay attention to the things that excite you and that you're passionate about, because, people respond to that, and you're going to excite, it's just like a kind of a momentum thing. It spreads like wildfire, because you never know if you're going to inspire out there to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where can people go to connect with you personally, and also to check out the products and potentially give them a shot?
Sure. Yeah. So it's, my website is alituraNaturals.com. That's ALITURANATURALS.com. And my name is Andy Hnilo. That's Andy. Last name's a little difficult. It's HNILO. And I'm on, it's just at Andy Hnilo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and at Alitura Naturals on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. And we have a team now, but it's mostly me. But I just, I love this. And I also want to offer your following and yourself a discount code for, just in case you want to check out and check out the products. It's we'll just do self-made, if that works. And
should one word or two? Probably one
word, and not case sensitive. And it's
cool. So self-made, one word, and what'll they get for that?
they'll get a 20% discount off of the entire store. And, yeah, again, Mike, I mean, this is fun for me.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you. You and I did not discuss that beforehand, so I appreciate you bringing that up and making that offer. That's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. No, my pleasure. This is it's an honor to be here.
Awesome, brother. Well, Andy, thank you so much for the time and for sharing your story. I love it when businesses, start from such an organic place and a personal challenge. And I loved hearing that you and I have had some similar experiences when it came to shipping and getting our start. Which is a lot of fun. And the goal for this episode for you guys out there listening today is to bring some reality to what a business looks like when you're starting from the ground floor, to give you some inspiration, ladies, for those of you who might want to, start your own skincare business or health and fitness business, whatever it may be. It can absolutely be done. This is not something that Andy knew about at all before he got started. He just had a passion for the topic, a passion for solving his own personal challenges and for helping others who might have the same. And that's it. That's all you really need is that kind of grit to follow through with your ideas and to bring it to life. So, Andy, thanks for sharing your example of what a true entrepreneur looks like and for your commitment to product quality and for your time today here once again.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all, as always, for listening. Your support means the world to me, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
starlight. It's our lives in hindsight. And as I